Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to another edition of Know Your Tic Tacs. Today we're talking about the Dragoon, which is interesting because the last one didn't come in drag. Anyway, the Dragoon is the stabby pokey spear guy, essentially the one that jumps and has spear. That is very literally the entire class. It's one that's surprisingly simple, though a lot of its stuff does have some fun ramifications for other things. So, as a bit of an example, when it comes to their vertical and horizontal jump abilities, you only ever need to buy the most expensive one. I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't changed this since forever, because it's kind of... there's like nothing going on here despite being an entire list. Like, genuinely, it would have been kind of interesting if, like, every time you bought one, you just had weird gaps in your jump range where they can jump real far, but, like, only in, like, 2 or 4. Like, if they try to jump 3, they just somehow get injured or something. I don't know. But it would have been neat if there was maybe something a bit more to this. Basically, the jump command is just depending on how fast you are, you jump in the air for a certain amount of time, you complete your charge kind of mid-air, so you disappear off the map. This gives you sort of temporary invulnerability and invisibility to everything, and then you land. Now, usually the focus is on making them faster so that they land faster. I think that there's some more interesting technical implications to that kind of invisibility mode there, which basically allows this jump command to be useful for certain support characters that, let's say, just need a way to hide for a little bit and just want to slow themselves down. And this is especially true in cases where they have means of just, let's say, inflicting some way to slow themselves down. Let's say they have a buddy that's a knight, they reduce their speed, then they throw them in the air for a while, and then, they can just sort of fridge themselves. Is this something you need all the time? No, but it might be exactly what you need for a support character to stay safe during a boss fight or something. I feel like that's one of those techniques that really only comes up when doing kind of challenge mods or something like that, which we don't exactly have for this yet, but we do have some mods that did add some interesting new features to it. Yeah, I saw some guy playing as Elmdor the other day. Okay, sorry, we're getting beyond, kind of besides the point here. So, jump. Yeah, very basic. Realistically, only ever, like, buy this thing unless you want to go and, get your cool mastered stars on there. From there, we also have Dragonheart, which gives somebody re-raise. Again, one of those common ways to get re-raise relatively easily. This is going to trigger upon getting hit physically. Now, I've seen this... This one's kind of confusing to me because I've seen a lot of folks mark it in the useless pile. I've seen a lot of folks mark it in the overpowered pile. A lot of the ones that put it in the overpowered pile seem to throw on that thought on there that it's just any source of damage. Like, you have to get hit by a physical attack of some description for this to trigger, which means that, yeah, you can trigger it with something like a throwing stone or something, but assuming that it just went off and it just got burned and you didn't have time to set it up again, this is one that's going to be one of the more technical ways to get re-raise on somebody. Like, I know personally I have a tendency to go rush bards and then just use nameless for that. In other cases, it's, basically cheat mode to go use piggies for this. Or, just go use a white mage for it as well if you decide to just go for the standard option that's intended. But Dragonheart allows you to do that automatically. This version is oftentimes better for more tanky type units, but again, if they're just getting nuked by spells, it does nothing for them, so there's that too. Anyways, I personally put it somewhere in the, like, mid-tier of abilities or what have you, but, everyone's got their different preferences and what have you, so you do you. Alright, next is Equip Polearms. You just put spears on somebody if you need somebody to attack from far away. It's not quite as diverse as being able to put poles on everybody, which is a skill that does not exist. So polearms are basically like the crossbow to bow ratio here, where it's like, it's the one that's there. It's not necessarily the one that's got a lot of the fancier features of the other one, which is weird, because seriously, why do poles get more features than spears? But these are decently powerful weapons that can attack at a distance, and it does allow for some interesting builds. I personally think it's kind of funny to put spears on a dancer, and then you've got a pole dancer. Anyway, from there we've also got Ignore Elevation, which allows you to, as the name implies, ignore elevation, and go all jumpy jump and jump on top of something. I mean, they kind of theoretically would already be able to do that with jump, so it's kind of less effort for them to put on Ignore Elevation, but whatever, game mechanics are game mechanics. So, the interesting benefit that you get out of this class, though, is their ability to equip heavy armor and spears right out of the box, along with combining in everything else. This is why, again, I like a combination like this, wherein, you can combine, let's say, heavy armor plus the ability to attack at a distance, plus put on dances, and you have a very tanky, potentially very evasive unit that is just going and doing its thing as you do, potentially blocking off an area, potentially just serving as a distraction or what have you. So there's a lot of potential for this to play out nicely. It's a good way to have a sort of like infinite tank, as it were, if you have some other way to support them. So it's got some interesting ideas there. I personally prefer to use them for their equipment choices more so than their actual jump command. But again, it's useful for getting out of the way of, charge attacks or making sure that somebody's going to be landing behind somebody once their turn actually activates. Additionally, if you wanted to get more power out of it, this is one of those cases where something like equip axes can actually be reasonably useful, as axes, all of their abilities go off of PA, as well as their landing speed is determined by their speed. So if you get something like a battle axe, you put some speed equipment on them, they actually can be very oppressively quick on landing those hits. And additionally, it's worth noting that the jump command cannot miss, so unless it's physically blocked by some sort of thing in the way, this will always end up hitting. So it is very accurate, it's very consistent, it's very evasive. It's kind of in the boring but effective pile. Additionally, this also means that if, for example, you wanted to get some better performance out of it, one of the things that you can do is go take a bunch of, let's say, speed equipment, go put that on a knight, and then you go ahead and put the jump command on them, and just have them use some of those fancy knight swords or what have you. So, yeah, there's that. So yeah, that is more or less the Dragoon in a nutshell. They're not exactly a very complicated class. They don't have a whole lot of abilities, but they do have interesting synergies with other things in the roster. So there's that. Alright, anyways, y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care. Thank you for stopping by. And, yeah, maybe the next one will be a little more complicated. That's weird how I'm just kind of slurring my words there. Okay, moving on. Bye.